learned so far, which is kind of a lot. So my plan is today, I just wrote a lot of words on the board and our subjects that we've covered so far. And if you guys have any questions at all, I want this to be more interactive than normal because this is what we've done. This isn't what we normally do, so it's a review. If you have any questions about anything that we've covered, anything that we haven't covered, anything you'd like me to go more, like, just let me know whenever. Okay, so here's, if you can't remember, like I can't, I have bad memory. These are the subjects that we've gone over this semester. Traveling, traditional American food, school in the US, the American lifestyle, American college lifestyle, international students' lives at American college, American holidays and seasons, polite and impolite American words and actions, American text and slang language, American legends and myths, and grammar. So that's a lot of stuff that we've covered, and we couldn't even get as in-depth as we would have liked to have gotten. So yeah, those are all the topics to review that we've done so far. And again, if you had a question about any of the stuff that we've gone over in these past many weeks, it doesn't matter if it's actually related to the stuff that we've done. It could just be about anything at all. Just ask your questions, and that's totally fine. So I did some important words as well, like some vocab. We're trying to get, do you guys have Quizlet? Do you know what Quizlet is?
Yes, Quizlet.
Yeah, Quizlet. It's the it's like online note cards where you can just like put in a vocabulary term and define it for yourself, and you can play games and learn the flashcards as if they were like real flashcards, and you go through and you learn the vocab. So I've been trying to put that together, but unfortunately I'm the only one that has done the words yet. So hopefully once finals are over, we'll be able to get more on the Quizlet for you guys, because you know, we know that you have some big tests coming up, and we want to help study for English as much as possible. So here are some important words that I thought deserve some recognition. We have studying abroad, the grade system from kindergarten to college, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, which is like a huge part of elementary, middle, and high school now. Our curriculum is really like trying to focus more on science, technology, engineering, and math, because those are where all the jobs are, and they want kids to grow up and get jobs. And Americans do not perform well on those specific tests at all. Our grades for those are incredibly low, like compared to places like China and stuff like that. It's bad. Everything in general is bad compared to China, I'm pretty sure, as far as like learning goes. But Americans can't have that. We have to be better than people or something, you know, educate people better. We also have American after school activities, and that can range, as you may remember, lots of people do sports after school as after school activities. They do their homework after school. They can go to the movies. They do, you know, all of that good stuff. And if you have any questions about that specifically, just let me know at any time. Please interrupt me if you have any questions. I don't care. I'm interrupted all the time. It does not matter to me. Okay. Go right ahead. And here we also have on-campus jobs, majors and minors, and we have scholarships up here. And those are all part of the college life unit that we talked about. Like on-campus job is just a job that you're able to get on campus, and it's probably easier to get than a real job outside of campus, because they're very sympathetic to students, and some people if they have a certain kind of work-study program, can get, or at least they're supposed to get jobs. Like they're supposed to get a paid job on campus as part of like their tuition and stuff like that. And your majors and minors, your major is just your main focus of study, and your minor is a lesser focus of study, and it all depends on like how many classes that you need for each. So like as an English major, that's my biggest focus of study. So I need to take like 6 or 8 classes. I can't remember. I think it was 6 classes specifically for English. But I need to take like a few others it can be like classes that have English in it, but English isn't the main focus. But I have to have at least 6 classes that are English classes specifically. Or maybe it's like 12 or something. It beats me. I can't really remember, but like there's definitely a specific number of classes that I need to take that are English oriented. And that's how you get your diploma. People can double major. So like Alex couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately, but she is a comparative literature major and a Russian major. So she double majors in those things. So she doesn't need a minor. If you double major, you don't need a minor because you definitely have enough classes to cover those things. I'm going to double minor. So, and you can do that as well. You can also triple major, but that's like really hard. And I haven't met anyone who is a triple major, but you know, as I said, you need a certain number of classes for each. And it's really hard to be a triple major because you're going to need a lot of different classes for each. So that means you'd probably be taking like 5 or 6 classes per semester, and we normally take about 4. Again, depending on what program you're in or what you want to do, how much free time you have, like it all depends. So let's see. Scholarships, American scholarships, again, it really depends. Definitely if you're planning to go to a liberal arts school like HWS, and you're like in the middle class range or under or something like that, you're definitely going to want to get some money from the colleges to help pay for your tuition because it's thousands and thousands of dollars. And one big problem, not only in the US, but also in the world, is like student debt. But a lot of it is in the US because we aren't very good about like public colleges and things like that. So people are still petitioning for like free college, at least free community college or a certain amount of college classes and stuff like that. So, you know, it's something interesting that's going on here, I guess. And for HWS, I almost didn't come because I didn't get the amount of money I wanted. So and sometimes you can berate these people. You can ask them multiple times for more money, and you can you know, you can play it up a little bit. You can fib slightly and say like, I'm really interested in this college, but this one is also way more in my price range. So I'd really take HWS under consideration to go if I had slightly more funds or something like that, or etc. I did that a couple of different times, and I got the amount I wanted. Now I'm here, so it does work. If you need more money, just ask, and sometimes they will do it. So, lesson learned, right? My mom actually went behind my back, which is weird, and she sent some of my grades to the colleges, and they gave me even more money afterwards, which was like really weird, but they did it anyway, and I was very surprised. She didn't tell me any of this. Whatever. So I made it here. Lesson learned, you can ask and you can get more money. Don't be afraid. It's definitely something that you can do. Just because you get a certain amount of money from them initially does not mean that they will not give you more. Okay. Especially if you're a hard worker, which you guys definitely are. So, so this is taking a weird turn, but here's some vocabulary on like polite and impolite American words and actions. So here we have eye contact, greetings, formal and informal greetings. The handshake, excuse me, and bless you. Those are, I cherry picked like some good ones. Those are the main ones. When you're meeting an American person, and like it definitely depends on, I'm just gonna scoot over here. And it definitely depends on who you're meeting. If you're meeting like an adult, like it can be a professor, it can be a friend's parent, it could be someone who might give you a job, like could be anyone really in who's an adult or at least in a higher position or something. If it's a formal setting like that, you know, you shake the other person's hand and you look them in the eyes and you say like, hi, nice to meet you. And you gotta smile, you have to, and smile at the eyes. I don't know if like people, I don't know, I can't remember. I feel like somebody here was a psychology major or their focus of study is in psychology or something, but body language is definitely something that humans pick up on, right? So you gotta smile and make sure the smile like touches your eyes and your eyes crinkle and stuff like that. I don't know. It's not something that people genuinely care about, but like it's definitely something that works because they'll say, oh, she's so nice or something. Like I could be totally mean and you wouldn't know. I could just be faking it. Yeah. So you could, you shake the other person's hand and you look them in the eyes and you say, hi, nice to meet you. My name is etc. And you know, they can say their name first. It doesn't really matter, but as long as you you make eye contact with them, if you shy away, they'll think you're weird or something, or unreceptive or something like that. So, you know, fun American things to do, I guess, is meet people, which is also what we talked about in our international, when we brought in our international student, Eustace. I don't know if you guys were here or you remember, but Eustace talked a lot about American customs and like interacting with students and stuff. And usually people in the US are pretty friendly and like open to meeting others and things like that. It obviously can depend on where you go and who you know and stuff like that. He's definitely involved in a lot of different organizations on campus. So I think he knows a lot of different people, but there have been issues at this school in particular in the past with Asian international students, and just that it's specifically hard for them to interact with the different customs of like American students, and American students sort of don't mingle with the Asian students. So like there's sort of like a divide sometimes, and it's pretty distinct. And obviously it depends on who you are, but like people tend to group towards different cliques and other people that they know. So that's been a struggle in the past. I know they've tried to make clubs to fix this and things like that, but so far nothing has really worked. At least that's what I've seen. But so yeah, hopefully you know, we can get there someday. But that's just some informal for informal stuff. If you're meeting like a person your own age, you're like, okay, it depends. Usually people don't shake each other's hands because that's a pretty formal thing to do. But you could say like, but you can just like give a wave or something and say like, hey, what's up? My name's Maddie or something. Like it does not matter that much. As long as you show similar smiles and stuff like that, like you're happy to meet them. Like, hey, nice to meet you. My name is Maddie or something. Like it, hey and hi are a lot better to use there as opposed to a formal setting with a professor or something like that. And we have excuse me and bless you on the list as well, right here. And you use excuse me couple different times, usually like if you're moving through crowds or you like burp in public or something, you use that. Like if you like, you know, something comes up there, you say, excuse me, so people don't think you're disgusting. And bless you, people say that to you if you sneeze. I don't know if this is really applicable, but, or if it's exactly true, but I'm pretty sure bless you came from the Middle Ages in Europe when everyone was getting the plague. I don't know if you know that or something, but like when everyone was getting sick and dying of the plague, they like whenever they sneezed, it was like a bad sign. So people would say bless you to bless them and hopefully rid them of the disease because they were all Christians and stuff. So that's where that originated from, which is a little scary, but that's just how it happened. So now people still say that, and it's like a custom, whether or not you actually like believe in Christianity and things like that. People will still say, because now it's just so embedded in the culture that you say it as a courtesy. If someone sneezes or something. Now there's no courtesy for how many times you say it if somebody sneezes, because if somebody sneezes more than once, it all depends, and you can get really. I've said bless you like tons of different times to people continually if they keep sneezing, and it's really funny, but like you don't need to do that every time they sneeze. I'm just sort of a menace sometimes. I just like to be funny. Let's see. Okay, so here's some common vernacular from the English language, from the youth of the American population. So this is lit. And again, I picked some of the best ones to share that are probably most common with kids nowadays and with students. Lit, normally the word lit means something is lit up, like the lights. Lights are being lit or something like that, or a candle is lit. But now when people say lit, they mean like a party is very exciting. Usually, and if you say get lit, so you could use it as a verb in that way. If somebody's getting lit, it's usually they're drinking or some form of intoxication, or you know, smoking or something, like anything that alters your consciousness. That's getting lit, and you can, yeah. So that's usually what people use that as. And also people use lit as just say yes or something like that, which is interesting. Yes, like you could reply with like, yeah, it's lit or something. Yeah, so it's sort of an affirmative thing as well, for no reason. English is crazy like that. I don't know. So there's also a roast or a burn, which just means those two terms mean basically the same thing. Just when if somebody gets roasted, it means that if a person was roasted, it means that somebody else insulted them in a really funny manner, like publicly. So I've gotten roasted before. Sometimes people, like I remember at like a talent show or something that I went to in high school, people voluntarily, of course, sat up on stage and got roasted by their friends. So they would just like call out like all these like bad things about their friends in like joking way and stuff like that. They usually don't get too personal, but I mean, it depends on the roast and it depends on your friends, I guess. But and a burn is the same thing. Like, oh, you just got burned or something. You just got roasted. It's the same thing. It's, you know, connection with fire, I guess, implies that, you know, the words physically harmed you in some way. Let's see. Here's some text language that's used pretty commonly. IK is I know. LOL is laugh out loud. And JK is just kidding. And I'm sure Indonesia has its own form of text language as well, and that's not even close to the amount of things that are in American text language. There's so many different things, but emojis are also becoming very prominent as a way of expressing oneself, while text slang came about because there used to not be iPhones, right? There used to be not smartphones where people had to type in multiple times to get like one letter. So that's when that sort of language came about, because it would just take too long to type full sentences. So text slang came about in the digital age and stuff like that, which I'm sure happened to you guys as well. But it definitely happened here. So some of it has become obsolete, but still definitely some is used, and a lot of emojis and things like that. Even emojis that like seem to make no sense to older people, but definitely make sense to younger people. It doesn't even need to be a face. It could be like, I don't even know. People can mean very different things when they put different emojis. Yeah, sometimes inappropriate things, sometimes appropriate. It all depends. It all depends. So here we have some grammar as well, some vocab for grammar. Nouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, and tenses. So nouns are just a person, a place, or a thing. Adjectives describe nouns, or words that describe nouns. Verbs are words that are used for an action, and adverbs are words that describe the verbs. So like adjectives describe nouns, adverbs describe verbs. And tenses are just different verb tenses, whatever like past, present, or future. Those are the different verb tenses that your sentence could be in. And you would have to modify your verbs to go with whatever tense you were speaking in. And I took an anthropology class, and sometimes people don't even have tenses in their language, which is really interesting. Because like time in the U.S. definitely matters. Like people less in the U.S. It's a pretty work-centric country as far as I've seen. So time in our language matters a lot, and but some cultures it just doesn't, and like tense doesn't really matter. So it's interesting to see those differences because time definitely matters here. Let's see. So any questions so far? That's the end of my vocab and stuff. I have sample sentences. If you want to practice with the verbs and things. Yeah. I'll just wait. I'm just gonna I'll just drag this over here. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Let's see. You probably can't see that too well, so we'll give it a shot. But here's some sample sentences that I have picked out. And the first one is, I am going to the store. I put Enda in the second one. Enda will travel to the US soon. And 3, the wind was blowing a lot yesterday. So to practice, I was wondering if, let's see, in this first sentence, if somebody could pick out which nouns are included in the first sentence. We'll also do verbs and verb tenses, but like let's do nouns for now. I need to get the colored chalk because I forgot it. If I drop my laptop, don't be alarmed. I have it on one hand, so that's a definite possibility. Okay, so who wants to identify the nouns in this sentence? A noun is a person, a place, or a thing.
I see the whole sentence in the sentence. You must be. Okay. The nouns. Let me read pronouns. I cannot see the last sentence maybe.
The last what?
The last sentence I cannot see what is it. The storm, right?
That's
Store, right? Store.
yep. I'm
Okay,
going
then
to.
store, right? Is the store?
Yep, the store is a noun.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Then
then
that's it for the first sentence.
okay.
So let's see. Let's go to the verbs now. This is exciting, I know.
Okay.
And can you identify the verbs in this sentence?
Okay. This one. Do you know which one is the verb? Okay. Which one is the verb? Going. Going.
Oh my gosh! Good.
And then
That's so good.
okay, which one is the verb? I
And I
am
think,
going.
yeah, since am is like a state of being, it's also a verb, but it's not like the primary verb.
Mhm.
So I'll underline it still, but like going to is definitely the main verb here. And what would you say the tense is of this sentence? Past, present, or future?
I am going to do. So, present. Future.
Wait, you had it the first time. You said present, right?
Present. Okay, present.
Yeah, it's present.
Continuous, right? It's present continuous.
Yep, it's the present tense because the present is what's happening right now. And if it says I am going to the store, that means like I am going to the store right now. Also, like I am moving right now. Hopefully no one's like seeing this outside because that'd be really funny but weird. I am looking out the window right now. Things like that that you're doing right now or that's happening to you right now. You're looking at the screen. I'm looking at the camera. Yeah, etc. I think you guys get it. Yeah, tenses, and there's a lot of different types of tenses too. Like I was looking. I don't know if you got the link I sent about Education First. They have a really good grammar section of their website that tells you like all of this great grammar and examples of all this stuff, and it's super helpful. And for the last session was the grammar rundown. So I was the intensive grammar rundown that Alex and I showed videos at to the beginner kids. I don't think they got it, but you know, one can hope. Yeah, so we did an intensive rundown of grammar, and that was and I realized while looking at the website that I do that stuff. That was a lot more than I anticipated because grammar doesn't get taught well in the U.S. Contrary to what you might think, or actually it could be exactly what you think. Grammar is not taught well in the U.S. at all. You're taught grammar in elementary school for like a year or two, and you really don't delve too far into it. You're like grammar and phonics are like half of 1 year or something. It's ridiculous. And it leads to people not knowing what they're saying as far as grammar. So yeah, so don't be surprised. Like Professor Anwar definitely knows grammar more, like better than most of this school, no doubt in my mind, because she's like thoroughly studied this. It's crazy. Yeah, like some people, I'm gonna take a grammar and style course next semester, and I no doubt I'm gonna be like floored by how much they're like I don't know about grammar as an English major. So this is gonna be great. But yeah, the tenses are the most like past, present, and future are the most basic tenses that you can get, and there's like many different forms of each that you can use, and it gets more complex from there. And if you want to see more of that, that's on the Education First website link, which is in the international group chat, and it's also in one of the lesson plan doc. That,
Maybe we practice more about grammar because last meeting we cannot attend.
Yeah, sure, definitely. We can do 2 other sample sentences, and then we can talk more about grammar. for the rest of the time if you want. So here's 2. Enda will travel to the U.S. soon. Don't know if that's true, but we'll see. Can you identify the nouns?
No. Can you show us the first sentence?
Yep.
I can see all the sentence.
US-nya tuh jadi noun nggak sih?
Okay, do you know which one is the noun for the sentence? Yes, ma'am. The US.
Jadi subject. Well, to the S. Ini jadi noun. Ya.
Nouns. People. And
Ini yang saya belajar grammar. Terus
oh yeah. Maybe
There's one more.
Desmond wants to show something. Which one is the noun? Which one is your answer?
Sorry?
Is it correct?
Yeah, I asked about the nouns. You got Enda as the first one, but there's one more.
I can see the first sentence. What is the first sentence? Maybe can you tell us?
Yeah, Enda will travel to the U.S. soon.
Enda will travel to the U.S. Okay, nouns. Enda will travel to the U.S.
US as noun.
Yeah, who said it?
Okay, U.S.
Yep.
Aku
That is a
And
perfect thing. Nice job, guys. Yeah, we can go over this again as far as grammar goes, but like proper nouns are nouns that are capitalized. So names are like this. When you say I, you capitalize yourself. You do months, days of the week, dates, countries like the U.S., languages like English and Indonesian. The list goes on. What you capitalize, books, movies, that sort of thing. But yeah, the U.S. is definitely capitalized because it's a country, and it's a noun because it's a person, place, or thing. So now let's move on to verbs. So what's a verb in this sentence?
Travel.
Yes, travel. Good.
Yes. And will as well. Again, like I am going, and to will travel. It's like technically 2 verbs, but it means that you. Oh wait, I can't give that away. What tense is this in? Past, present, or future? Enda will travel to the U.S. soon.
It's future.
No.
Who said future?
Future.
Yeah,
Benda akan berita itu kan travel.
got it right.
Berita future. Itu ditanya. Iya.
It is the future tense. Because it is something that will happen in the future. Present's now, future is later. So I will walk up the hill to my dorm after this is finished. I will work on my philosophy paper until I die.
Oh.
I'm being dramatic.
So bad.
Not really though, actually. So yeah, the future tense, definitely true. And in this last sentence, let's see. The wind was blowing a lot yesterday. I think we can put this one on the desk, maybe? Can you still see that?
Yeah.
Okay. The wind was blowing a lot yesterday. Let's identify the nouns.
Subject. Mau jadi verb. birthday-nya jadi noun. Noun.
Which is the noun?
Doing, blowing. Oh, dia doing,
Yes.
subject, and then blowing, verb, and
Blowing
yes,
is the verb.
yeah. And yesterday, noun.
Yesterday.
Bukan.
I
Adverb. Yesterday, adverb. No.
Oh, like I'm trying. Hold on, I don't even know. See again, like if you were to say like a day of the week, that would be a noun because it's a proper noun because it's capitalized.
Pronoun. I'm going.
I'm googling this. Hold on. I'm googling this just in case. Is yesterday a noun?
You're so excited.
I think you're right, but like we'll see. Okay, it's both an adverb and a noun. Whatever. So yeah, you're definitely right. It is a noun. I was like, it's probably one of those weird ones that can be like two things, and it is. So perfect. It is a noun. Not to worry. And what tense is this in?
Past tense.
Heck yes. Woo. Past tense. Yeah. Oh, this is like technically a verb too. And there are definitely certain words, like if you can't tell what tense something is in, there are certain words that can tell you, and you don't even need to look at the verbs. Like yesterday, that's a great indicator. Like tomorrow, before, after, certain words like that, you can you can use those as hints to tell you what tense you're in or what tense you're going in or something like that. So yeah, I think we want to work some more on verbs. We want to work some more on grammar. Is that what you said?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that. Yeah, sure. Grammar is what you want to work on for the remainder? All right, I'll do it. Let's go. Oh. Okay. Grammar. Yeah, so we can start with some nouns, verbs. Oh, wait, no, wrong order. Adjectives should go after nouns because they describe nouns. Adjectives, verbs. Okay. So, noun is a person, a place, or a thing. And that's like the first thing that you are taught about grammar as a child in the US. So nouns, as they are a person, a place, or a thing, they're usually the easiest to identify. I mean, or as we saw earlier, like maybe not so much, who knows? But like I, that's a noun. Indonesia, and you capitalize, you can capitalize certain nouns, or it can also be something like the park. That is a noun, but it's not a proper noun. Proper nouns are capitalized. You also capitalize the beginning of a sentence. You capitalize yourself, you capitalize countries, days of the week, like Monday, the month, like it's December, and whatever number it is, like the 12th or something. It's not that yet, but Yeah, that's that's what you would do if you were to say, if you were to talk about nouns as proper nouns. And there's also capitalize the first letter in the sentence. You capitalize proper nouns like people's names and countries. You capitalize languages. So English would be capitalized. If you were to talk about the English people, they would also be capitalized, so like nationality. That would be capitalized as well. Let's see. Yeah, so, oh, books and movies, that stuff. Harry Potter, to use my favorite of all books. That is capitalized. It's also italicized, but since I can't italicize on the board, I just underline it. And there's definitely more rules to English grammar like that, especially if you are doing source citations for a paper, which are not fun at all. But like, if you need help on that, like totally call me up. I should be practicing this, and I should know MLA formatting because I'm an English major, and that's what you need to know. Yeah, so let's see. Does anyone have any questions about nouns? And I want to try and get through as much as you guys want me to get through. So if you have any questions about nouns, totally speak up. So let's see. I think we covered nouns, and I'm going to go on to adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns. So if you were to take a noun like Indonesia, you could say here, Indonesia is a beautiful country. So you're describing the country of Indonesia, and you said it's beautiful. That's an adjective because it's describing the noun. Also, there are adjectives where you say, he was a handsome man. Yeah. So since you're describing the man by saying handsome, that means that being handsome is an adjective because you're describing the noun right here. So yeah, that's probably the basic of adjectives, the basics about adjectives. And again, on the Education First website, there's definitely, it goes into way more depth than I can today, or probably ever can in my life. And yeah, so if you have any questions whatsoever about this stuff, you definitely should visit that website and visit other websites and look at exactly what they mean. And they have some really great examples for you there as well. I might resend the website link because it's just super, super useful. I was fascinated by it. I was like on it. I was like looking at all of the crazy stuff that they have on there about the English language that I never knew, or that I learned in French, but I never learned in English, that sort of thing. Because sometimes you learn foreign language better than your own language, as far as grammar goes. It can happen. So if you don't have any questions about adjectives, I can move on to verbs. So verbs are action words. And verbs are words like to walk, to talk, to jump, to sleep, all of these, my basic functions really. I just named like basically all I do in a day. Walking, talking, jumping, sleeping. You could do singing, dancing, moving. All of those are examples of verbs because they're action words. You're doing something. Someone else is doing something. Climbing or yelling or crying or laughing or something like that. All of those are verbs. So, as I did in those sentences, but verbs also have verb tenses, which can make it a little bit more difficult because sometimes, because all the verbs change depending on what tense they're in. So like, and they're called verb conjugations. I learned this in French, but again, I didn't learn this in English. So you can say like, to walk or something, and that's the verb. But if you want to say in the past tense, I walked, well, let's put past up here so we know. I walked, he walked, you walked. But there's also, as I was saying, there are more complicated forms of tenses. So like, it's called the imperfect tense in French, but that's not how it's called in English. But to say, and I can't remember exactly what it's called, but this is the regular past tense. I think it's like the simple past. And this is a different past tense. I was walking. And you use the verb to be. And you conjugate that into the past tense, and you get was. And then you put was here to use a different form of a different verb's past tense, which gets confusing, I know, and crazy. But that's usually used in lots of storytelling and things, because you're expecting something. When you say, I was walking down the street when, and then the when shifts everything when I heard a noise or something. And sorry for my terrible handwriting. If you can't read anything, please just let me know. Anything like, Maddie, your handwriting sucks, please like stop, then that's fine. Anything. So here, this word when changes the game, because now that's in the actual past tense, the past tense that we're talking about over here. This is like simple past, and this was a different past that I can't remember the name of right now. But again, it's on the EF website, Education First website. And this is the different past tense. But when you're telling a story and saying like you were doing something, I was walking down the street when all of a sudden I heard a noise, and that transfers you to the simple past right there. Thereby making your story, it's better to listen to a story like that. It wouldn't make a lot of sense, because like you want people to be engaged in your story. And from a writing and rhetoric point of view, if you're saying like, I walked down the street and then something happened, you want to engage the people you're telling the story to. Say, man, I was walking down the street one day and then suddenly you heard a noise or something. Like, that sounds definitely way more engaging than I walked down the street and then I heard a noise or something. I don't know what that noise is. Feel free to make up one. But yeah, so those are some different forms of the past tense that can get a little complicated. But definitely both of those are worth checking out online for more information. And I'll just... so those are those are the verbs right there. And the future tense can also get a little complicated because the future, stuff that will happen, and you say, I will do fill in the blank. But you can also say, I'm going to do / go somewhere or do something. And I think I read on the website that by saying I'm going to go, that originally was formed as a non-definite way to talk about the future. By saying I will do, it implies a definite thing that you're doing, and you know when and where you're going to do it. Like, definitely, I am definitely going to, oh, see, I'm saying going to because not too many people say will, but I will definitely go to my room after this, after mentoring or something, because I know I'm going to do it. Or I could say, I will definitely go to the library after mentoring because I know I'm going to do it. But if you say, I'm going to do whatever, it implies, even if you do specifically know what you're going to do, you could use I'm going to do or I'm going to go either way, even if you don't specifically know what you're doing or if you do specifically know what you're doing. Most people say, I'm going to do something. They don't really use will too much. But how it developed was that will was something that you definitely will do. And I think before that it was like shall and stuff. I don't know if you've heard of that, like period pieces or something. And like from a long time ago, like some British snob is saying, oh, I shall go read this book and drink some tea or something. And you're like, what is that? I don't know. I don't know if you've seen that, but like people actually said those things. And it was really weird to hear it as you're growing up in the modern age, because you're saying, I'm going to go do whatever. And people shorten I'm going to say, I'm gonna do / go. And that's gonna is like going to, which is like will. So sort of like that. And yeah, so you could say, I'm gonna, and that means I'm going to. It's the same thing. And that's part of the slang that we were talking about earlier. People say I'm gonna or I'm going to way more often than they say will. So yeah, that's definitely a more natural way of speaking English in the US. Probably England uses a lot more wills than the US. I have never been to I've been to the UK, but like I've never been to England specifically. So it's definitely a solid guess here, but I'm pretty sure they use will more than Americans do. So, you never know. And adverbs, they're like, as adjectives describe nouns, adverbs describe verbs. And in simplistic form, say like, I'm going to go to the store quickly. Quickly here is an adverb because how are you going to the store? You're going quickly. And it's easiest to ask yourself the question, I find, when finding adjectives or adverbs. Say like, how am I doing? Like an adverb, you would ask the question, how am I doing X, Y, and Z? How am I going to the store? Quickly. Whereas an adjective, you would be like, what is Indonesia? A beautiful country in this example that we have here. What type of man was he? He was a handsome man, etc. So I like it because if you ask yourself questions, you can have a solid answer for them. So yeah, if somebody just says on a test or something, to say like, find the adverb, you would ask yourself the question, how am I going to the store? I'm going quickly. So also adverbs, they have a lot of LYs at the end. Like quickly, that's one. Carefully, like how did I bring the packages in? Carefully. Or I can't even think right now, but those are some examples. Basically, I've said that probably like 80 times already tonight, and usually they end in LYs, but sometimes you can't add LYs because the word basic itself is not basical, so it's from the word basic, and you would add the ally to it, ALLY. But adverbs normally come with an extra ly at the end. And I find it easiest to, again, ask yourself questions about what sentences you're reading and see if you can find adjectives and adverbs, because those can sometimes be hard to find in a sentence. So, yes, any questions whatsoever?
Okay. Anna, do you have any questions? Okay. Do you have any questions? Anna? Anna? Anna?
She's on.
If you want to tell something. Okay. You will ask something.
Grammar question, grammar question. Gimana sih? What to make sense?
Okay. Anna, are you ready?
How make apa sih? Question tenses. Tenses.
To make?
How make question tense?
Oh, a question tense?
Yes. Exam.
Oh,
You can
okay.
exam about structure.
Yeah, I got it.
About structure.
Yeah, what structure do you use for a question?
Apa tuh kita bingung ngomongin?
This is applicable here. I didn't have free time at all. I totally came here like too late to do that. That wasn't me. Okay, let's see. Written under questions. Structure. Yeah, okay. It's like really detailed for no reason whatsoever. Okay. And yeah, okay. So, how to structure a question but also having a tense. So let's see.
Iya sih bodoh ya. Kalau main bodoh kita disuruh nanya. Tapi aku
Okay, so here's an example. That says you. When will you go to the store? So that implies a future where you will be going, where you'll definitely be going to the store, but it's in a question format. So it's like, it's really not different than other questions, because I'm sure all questions have some sort of tense attached to them anyway. But that's one example. When will you go to the store? Or how can I write question? with a tense. Another example, like how, in this example, when will you go to the store? Those two are verbs. And how can I write a question? Also verbs. This is, but like go and write are the main verbs in this sentence. They matter the most because that's what you're doing. You're writing or you're going. So it's a normal question standard. You just like include tenses, I guess. No, I am definitely not explaining this to a very good extent. Do you have like a specific question about how to structure it? Like, cause there's no like formula to follow here. It's a lot of, it's like normal question writing, like when, how, where, when, how, why, and things like that. Those are normally how you start questions in English. And then you go from there, whatever you want to ask about. So yeah, in your case, how can I write a question with a tense? It's, yes, you technically put a tense in the question and you didn't even realize it. So yeah, did I do an okay job explaining that? Because I definitely feel like I don't. I did not. So just let me know if you have any other questions about it. Does anyone have any other questions?
Okay, I have. Can you tell me what is conjugation? Conjugation.
Conjugation?
Yeah, conjugation.
Okay, let's see. That's like when you're conjugating a verb to fit a certain tense or whatever you want to talk about. So, and again, I'm more familiar with this in French, believe it or not, because I took French for a long time and we did verb conjugations all the time. We didn't do that in English at all. So this is pretty interesting, saying like, and I think this, when we talked about tense, I sort of used this example, but I'll write it better this time. Like sing, the verb sing. What tense do you want me to conjugate sing in? So we can do past, present, or future. You can say like, well, I think the past is the most different. So let's do past. You change sing to sang. That's the main difference. I sang, you sang, we sang, and yeah, you can just keep going from there all the way down. He or she or they sang. There's no, unlike French, there's no special endings for any of these. It's just sang. But again, that depends on the verb every time. You could do, I'm trying to think of a good word where it might be different. And I can't think of a good one. But yeah, a lot of English ones just end up being the same. Let's take to dance. I danced. You danced. He, she danced. We danced. They danced. and it's the same thing. But those are examples of verb conjugations where you're changing the verb to fit the tense. I'll put that on there. Yeah. So you could also, if you wanted to do to dance in the future, I will dance, or going to dance, etc. And if you wanted to do it in the present, I am dancing. And you include the ing because you're doing it right now because it's in the present. So yeah, those are just some examples of verb conjugations. And you do that with every single verb because they all need to be changed to fit things, to fit certain things. And I know there's definitely a few differences between British English and American English as far as tenses go. As far as conjugations go. I don't know if they say, like, a weird one that we have is dive, to dive, and I'll put that on the board. It's bizarre because, like, if you were to say, you would think it would be I dove, he dove, he or she dove, but that's not entirely true. It's actually dived. And this is weird. And I can't tell you exactly why that is, but again, there's exceptions in every language for like some reasons unknown, and dive is just the weirdest one. Hang as well, to hang, that also, if somebody was like killed by hanging or something, they were hanged. They weren't hung, they were hanged, which does not sound correct, but dived and hanged are two examples of words that don't fit what like you would normally say, but that's only to kill someone by hanging. If you were to say, like, I hung up decorations, that would be hung. I don't know, I guess they wanted to make, yeah, honestly, sometimes, like, the English language just, like, confounds me more and more every time, like, every day I study it. But, yeah, like, that shouldn't be a thing, but I guess they wanted to differentiate between dying by hanging and actually just hanging something up. Anyway, so those are a couple weird examples of those words. Do you get the conjugation form and stuff like that? Is that clear?
Okay. At first, I'm still confused about conjugation, but now I understand.
Okay, perfect, great.
Thank you very much.
No problem, no problem. Do you have any other questions?
Okay. Enda, do you have any questions? Enda? Is it Enda?
Wait. Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Trino.
It's fine if you don't. It's like and if you think of a question and like, you know, it's after mentoring or something, like, I'm on the international group chat and you can just direct message me off of that, and you can ask me any questions that you want. I will answer them as best I can over text, just like I'm doing the best I can in video chat and stuff like that. So, like, do not be afraid to reach out and ask me questions. I won't reply if I'm, like, asleep, but pretty much any other time I 100% will. So, so yeah, like, if either of you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me, especially while you're studying and stuff.
Okay. Jadi apa? Text based, or what you mean by
Mesti munculin gambarnya.
Uh, about the text words. So, for example, uh, okay, and that
The what? I'm sorry.
it's interesting. It's really interesting. Sorry. It's really interesting text words that is you have to short the words such as if you answer yes, you just text uh, why on the text in reply, or maybe if someone asking you uh, I'm on the way, so you just OTW to answer the
Yeah, exactly. That's like text slang that we use.
uh,
And sometimes your phone can autocorrect,
yeah.
which can be great, but also can be super annoying because actually it's funny that you bring up the example of On My Way because that's one that constantly gets autocorrected, and it's like the worst because when you want to be here's another slang word for you, low key. When you want to be more subtle and you don't want to express too much interest about something, or you're trying to be cool or slick or something or whatever you're doing, saying OMW is way better, but it autocorrects to on my way with an exclamation point, and it's all grammatically correct.
Mm,
And you don't look as cool with that, and that's happened to way too many people, and it's very funny. Like if I'll go into my phone right now, and I can text. I'll text my friend Caroline or something. And as you can see, if you can, it will autocorrect on my way.
On way.
OMW.
Yeah, exactly. And if you press the space bar or if you press enter, if you're going to send the text, it will automatically send looking like on my way,
Oh,
which is too enthusiastic for the normal teenager.
It's really cool.
Yeah, so funny stuff like that.
Okay,
I don't know.
how do we know about the uh, text message like that? Uh, where can we learn about that?
What can you learn about it?
Yeah, shorting the message, answer of questions.
Oh, like how to shorten messages? Is that what you're asking?
No, I think how to learn about that slang. Is it slang language or what?
It can be a combination of both sometimes. But how you learn about text language, it's sort of similar to how you learn about slang, because, and this is like a general technology thing, because technology has really taken over the lives of thousands of people around the world, including so many teenagers in the U.S. Not only has slang language become a really interesting thing to watch because it's things stay in fashion like a lot quicker. They come and go a lot quicker because people have so many ways of communicating with each other, that it goes so quickly and it goes so fast that something can be in one day and then out the next day, and things can just like become really popular and then nobody uses them. So like even just a few, and I'm sure it's the same thing over there. Like if you were to call someone your home slice or something, that would be weird because that's slang from the 1990s. And it, it still happened like within my lifetime. Or like you can listen to certain songs or something and you're like cringing because those words were like they were used so long ago and they feel so ancient to you now, or they feel just really old and weird sounding. And so like you learn about that just like text language, like you learn about slang really rapidly. And if you don't know it, then you're behind the curve and you need to figure it out if you're gonna understand lots of things. Like There's definitely people that I know that I can't understand a word they say sometimes because they use so many weird words that I've never heard of, and I'm just like, where did you get that from? And they're just like before I knew what lit was, when I told you guys about what lit was, this was like last couple of years ago, I think, and I heard it used, and I was like, what does that even mean? Yeah, all from there. But yeah, you learn about that stuff definitely through technology. Lots of communication with other people. Urban Dictionary, great site if you don't know. It's like a dictionary, but it's for slang, English slang usually. But yeah, you can look up words. I've used that numerous times to look up stuff that people are saying because sometimes you just don't know what those words. HWS has its own slang sometimes, which is interesting. Like this bar that you can get into if you're underage. I've never gone. I should say that. I've never gone, but it's called Beef and Brew. So it's like it's a pub place. It's like a bar, and you get like hamburgers or meat or something and beer. So it's like good or something like that. But people just call it beef, just beef, and you say like I'm going to beef tonight or something, and you're like, what? What do you mean going to beef? That doesn't make any sense. Beef is like a meat, and they're like, no, I'm going to the bar, Beef and Brew.
Oh.
And you're like, hey, like, yeah. So there's definitely some HWS lingo here. You know, as there is pretty much any other place, I'm sure. But that's just one example.
Okay.
Anything else you guys want to know?
Okay, thank you very much. And I really like to have some vocabularies about that short messages from you, maybe.
If you like in all the articles that we've sent on that, they include if you even just look up like English text language, you'll get so much stuff. So much.
Yeah.
Some of it's outdated at this point, but like yeah, if you want to know more about that, there's definite resources to look that up.
I want to learn about that. It's really interesting, really.
It's really fun, trust me.
If you say something good, answered by that short messages. It's really funny. Okay. By the way, Enda and Miss Lala, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay. Actually, do you have any questions, Desmond? Okay, Desmond has a questions for you.
Okay.
Please.
I not
Jadi,
about
videonya dimunculin.
Apa?
I not understand about verbs.
Oh, he did not understand about adverb. Okay. Do you want to know about adverb? Oh, you want to know about adverb? What is adverb?
Oh, the adverbs?
But she already.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's see. I'll make a new I'll erase some stuff real quick.
How?
Hey, I just used an adverb right there. Wait, did you guys merge? Oh my god. Was that Enda in your thing? Okay. I just saw like a flash of pink go by. Oh my god, she's back. Okay. Whoa, that's cool. Sorry, I just got distracted. I mean, in and out of the squares, obviously, but like blew my mind. I need more sleep. That's what I need. So let's say let's do an example first. I will write an example quickly. So the adverb in this sentence is, I'm just going to use colored chalk so we get it. Quickly, because quickly describes this verb here. To write, adverbs describe verbs just like adjectives describe nouns. So when you put an adverb in a sentence, it describes the verb. And if you were to ask the question, how will you write an example? I would answer quickly. I'll write it quickly, because that's how you're doing an action. Whenever you're writing something like, or you could say, I will write an example slowly. And that would also be an adverb because it's describing the verb to write. And there's many other adverbs that are like that describe verbs and how you do an action. So like you could say, you asked that question loudly. And that would be considered, I don't know if you did or not, that could be considered an adverb. Or you asked that question well. Well would, in there, even though it doesn't have an ly at the end of it, it can also be considered an adverb because it would answer the question, how did you ask the question? You asked it well. So that's, and again, I like to ask myself these questions because that's how you figure out, you can, if you just rearrange it, the sentence, and you say, how will you write? And the answer to that would be quickly.
Right.
Because quickly is how you're going to write. It describes the action of what you're doing. And more examples would be like, I am running slowly or something. Like, if I were running slowly, like, it's the same thing. If I sat down really fast, she fell gracelessly. That's like a complicated one, but it just means without grace. So you fall in like a crumpled heap. Like that's a terrible one to use because it's super complicated, but like it's also an adverb. Let's say she fell quickly, she fell ridiculously. You can substitute lots of different words that could describe exactly how I fell or how I wrote something on the board. So if you ask the question how, you'll be able to get the answer, which is an adjective, but which is an adverb. I can probably. So yeah. You get it? Awesome.
Thanks. You say thanks.
Happy to help. Happy to see some new recruits too.
Okay. By the way, our time is up. Thank you very much, Maddie, for your explanations. It's really helped us. Really.
Thank you so much for listening and asking questions. You guys really did this review session. This is really great. I'm really glad you guys participated. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good one. I'll see you next semester, everybody.
Thank you very much, Maddie, and good night.
Good night. Bye. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. I'll see you later.
Okay, bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye.